Good afternoon to you. Earlier on today, apparently a woman rang the BBC and said she heard that there was a hurricane on the way. Well, if you're watching, don't worry, there isn't. But having said that, actually, the weather will become very windy, but most of the strong winds, incidentally, will be down over Spain and
A very good afternoon, and thanks for clicking on to today's edition of Vogan's European Outlook. Yes, that was Michael Fish way back in 1987, and it's interesting. The reason why I'm showing you that is because, though I'm not necessarily saying that there's the 1987 storm coming again, but we have got potentially one of the worst situations weather-wise across England and Wales in about 20 plus years. We've got the development of Storm Eunice. It is now on the weather charts. It is an actual system now that has developed, and it looks as if the computer models are honing in beautifully with regards to expectation of what the conditions are going to be like through the course of tonight, and particularly so tomorrow morning. But the reason why I'm showing you that video, folks, that little clip, is because it's amazing how weather forecasting has changed in the 30 plus years since 1987. The amount of people, including myself, I lived in central London at the age of 4 back when that storm hit, and it was just a remarkable time to waking up the next day to the amount of damage, destruction, and even death that was caused by that storm back in 1987. People went to bed not realizing what exactly they were going to be facing that night. And I remember myself, my brother, my mum, and my dad were all hunkered into the same bed that night. And quite honestly, it was quite a terrifying experience. However, I've always believed that that is the seeds to the passion that I have for the weather today, and it's going to be very interesting over the next 24-hour period to see exactly what takes place with regards to Storm Eunice. You can see here, this is the current satellite image and the developing of Storm Eunice. Amazing meteorology, dynamics, atmosphere, all coming together to create a rather beautiful but also very scary situation for England and Wales here. You can see here with this loop the development of the system itself. You can see this little gap in the clouds developing right here, and that is where the surface low is developing. But I want to go further than that, folks. I want to show exactly what's been going on with regards to the development process of the system itself. Now, we've had a system that has came off Newfoundland or developed near Newfoundland and has been scooting along with an upper level. So we've got a surface trough and an upper trough of low pressure, a cold trough in the upper levels of the atmosphere that has been shooting across the North Atlantic. At the same time, it has met up with a frontal boundary that has been extending all the way from the Caribbean right up to the region right around or just to the west northwest of the Azores, and that has been the embryonic area of low pressure where all the ingredients have came together to develop this surface low pressure system that is now starting to show its hand. And you can see that in the satellite imagery, the development of the surface low. Complex situation, but very fascinating situation at that as well. If you notice here, this is a chart of weather tidbits, and what we've got going here is I want to show you in the 850 millibar level, so that's kind of approximately 5,000 feet above the surface. And I want to draw your attention to this feature here on the north shore of Newfoundland, and this other feature here, this kind of orange circle, and watch how this feature that comes off North America, a very cold core system, and this little area right here. Now, if I play it through the loop here, watch the two features coming together. Now, you've got this little feature here starting to develop, it's starting to stretch, and you're seeing more circles developing within this. Notice also the feature that's coming off Newfoundland, And what takes place is these two features merge together, and as it does so, it's also at the tail of the jet stream here. We've got one branch coming out of the northwest, we've got another branch going from southwest to northeast here. That core of jet stream winds is blowing at approximately 200 miles per hour. So, of course, like I say, we've got the system that comes off in Newfoundland, we've got the other system that is developing along a frontal boundary, and what we've got is the development process here right on the kind of this region of the jet called the right entrance region of the jet here is where the development process is taking place. So we've got the energy, we've got the cold trough aloft coming down, we've also got a surface and mid-level circulation coming through, sliding east south eastwards and merging with this feature here along the frontal boundary that's basically extending from the Caribbean up towards the Azores. And then as the combination comes together, we'll see the development of surface low pressure that becomes Eunice here. It's really the feature that comes off Greenland that essentially is what becomes Storm Eunice, if you get what I mean here. I'm just wanting to show you the meteorology, the beauty that comes together to produce such a thing. Very rare indeed, and it is very much worth paying close attention to. As I play through the loop, the system is feeding on the right entrance region of the jet, and what that does is it forces the system to deepen rapidly. Rapid cyclogenesis. We're expecting the pressure to fall some 44 millibars in a 24-hour period, from 1,000 millibars into the 960s in millibars within a very short space of time, maybe as little as 12 hours. Then as the system then rides underneath that 200-mile-an-hour jet stream, another thing very interesting takes place, and this feeds the rapid cyclogenesis. As the system is moving along with the jet stream, what takes place is, if you watch as I play through the animation here, the system actually moves from the right entrance region across to the left exit region of the jet stream, and as it crosses to the cold side of the jet, that then forces the air to kind of almost collapse in itself. It forces the deepening of the low pressure itself. The wind field really tightens up, and it's interesting. You notice here this little hole develops right here, and that is the model seeing Eunice cross over the jet onto the cold side of the jet. And then as I play through it, you can see here that it's actually affecting the shape of the jet stream. So this area of low pressure blows up. It starts to have its influence pushing up through the levels of the atmosphere, and it actually reshapes the jet stream itself. Amazing stuff. And of course, as it pushes through the UK itself, that's when we're going to see all the trouble, I think, over the course of really from about midnight onwards, I think, folks. That is the dangerous part, as the actual centre starts to move across the British Isles itself. I think it comes up through the Irish Sea, if I'm being honest, and into the southern portion of Scotland here. Exact track and exact position in which that system crosses over the UK is going to be crucial to where the strongest winds are. South side of the system, the isobars are squeezed together. We've got the strongest winds in the circulation that's going to be affecting primarily the south of England. The majority of England, the majority of Wales, in fact all of Wales, and Ireland as well, is going to get hammered by these winds as it crosses over. Another key aspect that needs to be considered is the fact that the system may peak as it's moving up through the Irish Sea. That would not be a good sign, because what happens is sometimes you can actually start to get the development of a sting jet as you start to get that hook that shows up on radar, on satellite imagery, and that hook can sometimes indicate the development of a sting jet. A sting jet is something that I mentioned about a week ago with Storm Corey. We've seen energy from the jet stream level, essentially, energy getting transferred down through the atmosphere and reaching the surface. And instead of having 70, 80 mile an hour winds, you've all of a sudden got within a minute or two, you get a blast of super strong winds that are typically mid and upper levels transferred down to the surface. You could be talking about 100-mile-an-hour gusts, and that can produce very, very strong damage indeed to buildings, trees, and it affects a lot of things. We need to watch out for the development of a Stingjet with this system as it pushes across the British Isles, and some of the models are actually picking out that the possibility of a Stingjet here. But certainly, as we play it through the loop, you can see here, this is off the ECMWF. There's the system that is UNIS now on the charts. You notice here the very, very cold air blowing right across out of the Baffin Straits. So we're forcing very cold air into a region that's typically mild, warmer than normal sea surface temperatures. All the ingredients coming together. Then that system then just pops, if you will. It's like almost having popcorn in a microwave. You just start to get the heat that is generated from this system, and you've got the system just kind of explodes. Notice here that as it starts to approach the British Isles here, it really tightens up, and you've got the circulation here coming. It almost kind of jumps, if you will, from. Let's go back a second here. It almost kind of jumps here between really kind of what just southwest. It's just on the east coast of Ireland, I suppose, and then it kind of just jumps to the area around Fife. So it kind of takes a big push northwards, and it's going to be interesting to see on the west and southwestern flank of the low how strong we get those winds to become here. And of course, you've got heavy snow breaking out the north of England, southern and central Scotland, up into the Highlands as well. We're going to get blizzard conditions, I think, with this system. So it's not just going to be wind, but it's also going to be from some very difficult conditions indeed in terms of snowfall here. Now, this is off the Arome model, and I want to show you this in particular because it's very, very interesting. It shows, as we go through the overnight period tonight, some gusty winds actually across England, Wales, the Irish Sea, if you notice there. But then as we go through into that was through the course of today, sorry. But as we press through into the evening, you can see that this is the winds now starting to pick up through the Celtic Sea up into the Irish Sea, and it's as we press through the period. This is actually 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. You pick out here some of these little narrow bands of intense wind, very strong winds within the field itself. But notice here the development of these little channels of even stronger wind, more extreme wind, and that is the modelling picking out the possibility of a Stingjet here. So south of Birmingham, towards like what that would be like kind of Cambridge or just south of Cambridge. This region through the South Midlands looks as if the modelling is indicating the development of a Stingjet here, and that's something that we really need to pay attention to. This is what you call a Shapiro-Kaiser type cyclone. When you've got basically the fracturing of the cold front, you've got the warm front kind of hooked over the top, and sometimes what you get is a Stingjet developing in the southwest quadrant of the low itself. So we've got some tremendous dynamics coming together, which indicates some real dangerous weather across the southern portion of the British Isles in particular. And this is the Met Office warnings here. And you can see here we've got the widespread amber. We've got here's the yellow warning for snowfall, Northern Ireland and a good part of Scotland. And then of course you've got the amber warning and the red zone. We've got a red warning extending from right through the Bristol Channel and along the Devon and North Devon coast and into Cornwall as well. That's where we're expecting very, very intense winds as well as battering waves, coastal flooding, very, very likely indeed. We've got all the ingredients coming together, folks, for something very, very significant indeed here. And please be safe out there. If you don't need to travel, don't, especially if you're in the red warning area tomorrow morning. So it's going to get very interesting. Keep it right here on YouTube. Thanks for watching, and I'll endeavour to be back again tomorrow with more. Stay safe. Bye for now.